to all those people that are planning to self-manage, I thought I'd use this time uh, to let people, inform people about self-managing, a bit about self-managing. Well, I used to be with a provider, and that provider basically controlled my HCP, home care package. But the hours that I was given were not good at all. For instance, personal care. Well, they had a 3 hour window. So if your booking was between, let's say, 9 o'clock, for instance, it could be anywhere between the 3 hours prior to 9 and the 3 hours after 9. So I weren't happy with that. I discussed it with them a number of times, but they said we can't set a dead time, that we've only got windows that our workers work with. Then it came to domestic cleaning. The domestic cleaning actually had a 4 hour window either side. Now, usually domestic cleaning was set for 11 o'clock in the morning, but I go back 4 hours, or I could go forward 4 hours, so it could be anywhere between 8 hours. So you can see what I mean. It wasn't always on the exact time. When it came to my shopping, I only did my shopping once a fortnight, and that was also a 3 hour time window. So I might get the booking for 10 o'clock, it might be 7 o'clock in the morning, or it could be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was a 3 hour gap window either side. Or it could even be earlier, it could be an hour later. So instead of 11 o'clock, it could be 12 o'clock, and so on and so forth. Now, because of this, it made it a lot difficult for me as a client of theirs at the time to be able to book a appointment to see my doctor, to see my psychologist, to see a specialist, because I had to basically work my time around their time frames, their windows, which made it very difficult for me because it was making it harder for me to make appointments to go and see my doctor when I needed to, or to see a specialist or anything else. And when I had an appointment with a specialist that was made, I'd have to cancel that day's service because it couldn't be worked around. And that made it difficult as well because at times, sometimes it was on a personal care sign and a specialist. I'd have to go and see a specialist and they would turn up while I was at the specialist. So I'd get charged for that service even though I'd rang them up and said, look, I've got an appointment with so-and-so at this time. I've got to change my service for that day or have it for another day. Basically, most of the time I cancelled for the next day, but I was still charged for that. So I weren't very happy about that. What was the hardest thing that I found about working with a service provider that controls your home care package is that they only allow you a certain amount of hours a day, or basically a week. So I kept on building up on my unspent funds, and then if I had something extra that I needed, then I'd have to use my unspent funds for it, which was also in one way good, but was also another way pretty ratty. So what I did was I decided that I was going to cancel the service with the full-time providers and go self-managed. Now, to start off with, as I started looking for self-management, I didn't cancel them straight away. I started looking for them, and it was hard to find any organisation within Tasmania that would actually accept self-managing. In fact, I don't know any service in provider in Tasmania that does self-managing, which made it hard. At the same time that I was doing this, I was informed by other services, even on the mainland where I eventually got my service provider. I was told things like, oh, well, look, the thing is you've got to find your workers. You've then got to get your workers to do a police check. They've got to send you the police check. You've got to get notification and certification that they're able to work with vulnerable people. And they also had to have that ABN, their own ABN to work with, and that put me off a lot. And the way that they were putting it to me, it was a lot of work involved that I had to do, which I weren't happy about. So I kept on searching. Back in November last year, I found a service which is called Dulcie Home Care Provider. Now, they're situated in Melbourne, and what I did was I asked them the questions: do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? And it was found out that what I was being told by other providers wasn't true. And I had a meeting with them a day later. After that meeting, the workers decided, look, we'll have another video link up in 2 days' time. So that became, I've seen them spoke to them on the Tuesday. On the Thursday, I had my next one. While I was talking to them, I explained what I needed and all the other stuff that was required. And they said, look, no problem. All you got to do is inform your provider that you got now, that you're with, that you're changing from full-time service to self-managed service. I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And what I did was I then contacted my aged care, of course. I had my reference number reinstated, so my old provider wasn't able to use that any longer, and I contacted Dulcie and gave them the information, the referral and all that. We had another link up to finalise the last things, and that was it. On the 2nd of December last year, 2024, I started working with another provider, another service. Now, the other service that I worked with was called Caregivers Disability Services. Now, Caregivers Disability Service is based in Hobart at this point, but are planning on extending. At the moment, Caregivers Disability have got full authority at the moment, if they want, to work with any NDIS client that they wish. Basically, they can control their services. But Caregivers Disability don't want to do that. What they want to do is they've got other services that they can arrange to control be the provider of the NDIS client, and also can also be the supplier for the or the provider for a home care package. And caregivers disability, what they do is they do a whole lot of stuff. They'll do a free consultation with you up to an hour, usually. Sometimes it might take a bit longer, it depends on the person and what's required. They will sit down with you and they will discuss about what you need, where you need to be, what problems you may have. For instance, if you have a continuous issue of falling and hurting yourself, they will help you. They'll advise you, if you're self-managed, they'll advise you of what you need to do. If they don't know offhand at the time what they need to give you the information, they'll find the information and then they'll come back to you and they'll say, right, this is what you've got to do, this is how you've got to go about it. Now, the thing about caregivers' disability is their management side connects with you, their workers connect with you, and they associate with you. So they basically connect with you, they listen to your voice, and they understand what you're saying, and they'll help you that way. Caregivers also has both male and female workers. So if you're in a situation where you don't feel comfortable with, say, a male worker, then they'll give you a female worker. And it's the same on the opposite. If you're not comfortable with a female worker, they'll give you a male worker. And you get more hours. Now, the thing I find by what I mean by more hours is the fact that when I was with this other full-time provider, I was basically getting 7 hours a week. Yeah, 7 hours a week. And I was paying other fees as well. I was paying care management fee, coordinator fee, and other fees that were coming up in my budget as well. So I was paying a lot of fees out for them to be my full-time providers. Well, now with the way I've got it now is I've got a set price of how much I pay per visit, and that's all I pay. With Dulcie, who are my providers, I do pay a fee with, but even the fee that I pay Dulcie is not as much as what I was paying with a full-time provider. So it's much better for me. So in other words, it's given me an extra few $100s that I can use for something else, or if I need extra time, or things like that. So it's covering all that extra things. Now, difference is that, yes, the system has changed now to SAH, which is support at home, but I'm still under the home care package, even so, because I was on the service before last year. So the thing is that if you have issues, you can contact the service. Say, look, I've had this issue, I don't know what to do, and they will listen to you. They'll come and see you if they need to, or they'll provide you with someone to contact. All their workers are trained, not fully trained. I won't agree either they're fully trained. They're still doing training as they go each year, but they have records of if you have any injuries, like this little scab here, which is a burn mark. So that was recorded today because it was only noticed today by the worker, so it's been recorded on record that I have this injury. What they do is they listen to you and they record everything that needs to be recorded. If you need to go to a doctor's appointment or a specialist appointment, they will take you. You can arrange for them to take you there and bring you back. They'll also arrange if you have family and you've got no way of getting there, they will take you to your family. They'll stay with you if you want them to, or they'll go away and come back at a certain time to pick you up. So they're great when it comes to that. Now, difference also with Dulcie, which is what I've gone through, which is my provider, when my service sends them an invoice, they will send them an invoice every 2 weeks. Now, if they send that invoice Saturday, Sunday, Dulcie have received it on Monday when they open for business again, the weekday. As soon as they open it, they process it. The money goes, the payment of that invoice goes into the services account 2 days, only 2 days after they receive the invoice. So, and the payments go out on 2 different days with Dulcie. They go out on a Wednesday and they go out on a Friday. Every week, this is when they make payments, and it's always 2 days. Not necessarily 2 working days, but it's within 2 days. So if you send it in on a Monday, you're going to get payment on a Wednesday. You send payment in on a Thursday, a Wednesday, you're going to get paid on the Friday. Thursday, you're going to get paid on the Friday. So they are the days that you're going to get paid, the Wednesday and the Friday, every week or every fortnight. It's still, either way, it's going to be within 2 days. Now, caregivers, as I said, are not statewide yet, but they are planning on going statewide. So that's what they do. They will be going statewide. And if you need to find out any information, you can visit the stand that I go down there every Monday at the Royal Hobart Hospital, and we have a table set up there with information about caregivers' disability, and you can talk with either the workers, or if you don't feel comfortable talking to the workers, you can always talk to me, because I'm there every Monday as well. And I'm not a worker for caregivers' disability, I'm a client, and I'm voluntary helping them so that people can see that it's not just workers that are there, it's also a client like myself that is there to explain the benefits that I've seen and the benefits that I'm receiving from caregivers. Now, caregivers can give you, the normal time is around about 2 hours minimum, and you can negotiate your prices with caregivers, so you're not set at one price. They may say, no, well, what about $100 an hour? Then you might turn around and say, oh, well, what about 75? Well, what are you saving? $25. It's better than nothing. And you only get charge a small amount on travel costs. So you've got to think of that too. They do charge travelling cost, but it's minimal. Most services have got to charge travelling cost, but it depends on the person. It depends on how far they've got to go and things like that. So you work on things like that. You work on how you want the service, what you need in your service. What are your main goals? What are your main objections? Have you got this problem? Are you, what's the word? Are you isolated? How can you stop me from being self-isolated? There's programs that can be set up so you're not isolated by anything. And that's what home care is like. So, for me, to you, as people watching this, please do contact them. Caregivers Disability. Now, for information, Caregivers Disability, you can contact them at caregiversdisability.com. You can contact them on 04 89 191 504, or you can contact them at caregiversdisability@gmail.com. Also, that is their sign. So always remember that. Caregivers Disability. Thank you for your time, and I will come up with some more at a later stage.